one of the reasons that people were so upset about both you and me going after Cardi B is because the Democrats have really created a nature preserve in the cultural community. They really believe that they have sole control over every aspect of American culture. So when you call out Cardi B, or when I say that WAP is a bad song, which it is, when you say any of these things, then they feel very threatened by this. And you can see this in the new standards for the Oscars. I don't know if you've been following this controversy yet, Candace, but the Oscars recently, as in last night, came out with new rules as of 2024. You actually have to fulfill certain rules in order for your picture to be eligible for Best Picture, including a certain level of black LGBTQ or female representation on screen, stories that feature black LGBTQ or I guess deaf people, really, this is something in there, on screen, or a certain number of background actors or interns who are black, LGBTQ, female, or deaf or disabled in some way. You know, is there going to be a backlash culturally against all of this? Because it does make things rather boring.
I mean, not even rather boring, just also rather senseless. Like, what are we going to, picture old England and pretend that there were a bunch of black and LGBTQ people walking around when you do historical accounts of things and wars that happened? I mean, are we going to pretend that during the Revolutionary War it was all African-American men fighting for the country? It's foolishness, you know what I mean? And it again, is part of their effort to continually erase true history. You know, we understand, of course, across the board that bad things happened everywhere in the entire world. But pretending that they didn't and trying to not whitewash, but actually blackwash all of history. It's dangerous. And, the 1619 Project with the New York Times, this all falls into the same vein of them just being completely detached from reality and trying to detach the rest of us, including, the future American generations away from the reality of what happened in this country.
And Candace, on a broader level, one of the issues that has come up in the last couple of weeks is the critical race theory issue. And the Democrats have been trying to downplay this. Members of the media have been trying to downplay critical race theory. And the reason that it's come up is because it was actually being taught in sort of these diversity trainings at the federal government level. It's become incredibly prevalent on American university campuses, critical race theory, which is the idea, effectively speaking, that all institutions in American life are institutions of power and thus institutions of historic white supremacy. We're seeing this play out in America's streets with all the violence and with the anti-police move by the Democrats. Maybe you can speak to exactly what the black community's perspective is on policing, because I think there are a lot of misnomers about what black Americans actually think about the cops. If you watch the media, all you get is that black Americans think that the cops are evil and racist and out to hurt them. And then when you look at the polls, you see that 81% of black Americans actually want the same number or more police in their community.
Right. I would say what the left is working on right now is the younger generation of black Americans who are actually growing up believing that police are dangerous and police want to kill them because of this sort of media brainwash that's going on and propaganda on a mass scale. So it's very alarming when you speak to a young black child or you see those videos where they say, I'm scared to go outside, because that's how much the media has harped on this false narrative. But in terms of the older generation, they're smarter than that. They've lived long enough. They lived in those neighborhoods. They know who the real threat is. They know that, when you remove police officers, it's not like, okay, suddenly police officers are gone. It means that there's a vacuum, and people that fill that vacuum tend to be gangsters. You're breeding a world in which the Bloods and the Crips come back into power and are running the streets. And of course, you remove police officers. I say to people that say defund the police, you might as well come outright and say kill more black people, because it means exactly the same thing. And we're seeing that across the board right now. If you look at any major inner city, there's a minimum of 150% increase in black deaths, in shootings and deaths in these inner cities because of this push to defund police initiatives.
We're speaking with Candace Owens. Her new book is Blackout, How a Black American Can Make Its Second Escape from the Democratic Plantation. Of course, she's host of the Candace Owens Show. So, Candace, you've been talking a lot about both politics and culture. When it comes to the inequality issues in America between black and white, which is what we all focus on. We never focus on inequality between white and Asian because, of course, that would suggest that perhaps not all inequalities are driven by the system. Maybe some inequalities are driven by differences in personal choice. But when we talk about curing some of the inequalities between black and white, particularly in the economic and socioeconomic sphere, do you think that those solutions are going to come more from culture, or do you think they're going to come more from politics? Because you and I discuss politics all day, and it seems like politicians are constantly pledging they're going to fix these problems. It seems to me that these problems are not fixable in the realm of politics, a lot of them. How exactly should we be spending our time focusing on bettering people's lives? More in the cultural sphere or more in the political sphere?
I say it's a joint effort. I'm very against welfare programs, which I believe incentivize bad behavior. And there are a ton of government programs that incentivize and encourage bad behavior. And so in that effort, even in talking about the Department of Education and what they're putting into the school systems, that's why the government can take a step back from the things and the ideologies that they're teaching Black America. But mostly it's cultural. We have to fix it. And I said this when I was on your show. We have to fix this broken baby mama culture at the same time that we uplift and we celebrate artists that talk about gats and guns and gangs and strippers and baby mamas and how many men you can sleep with, where at the same time we complain and say, why does the public have this view of us?
So what y'all just heard was Candace Owen'S on Ben Shapiro's show. Speaking on the normal. Anytime they bring Candace Owen'S out, she speak on the Black community and things she not really privy to. Things she don't really know about. And I know why they do it. You see what I'm saying? I don't know if she get it, but what they're doing is they're using her because she's a black face, and she's telling white people exactly what they want to hear anyway. So she profitable. You see what I'm saying? But in reality, yeah, she's a black face, but she doesn't really know about the black struggle because she's not from a black town. You see what I mean? She's from Sanford, Connecticut. The black population there is 13%. So there's a chance that you believe them things that she's saying. She believes what she's saying. Because in her eyes, it may be true. Because you got to realize, y'all, when you're dealing with black people and the things that we're hollering and fussing about, yeah, color plays a role, but poverty level plays an even bigger role. You see what I'm saying? So she's not experiencing everything that a black person growing up in a majority black town like Baltimore City or Mobile, Alabama or New Orleans, Louisiana. You see what I'm saying? It's different. Everything, the policing is different. The opportunity is different. Because historically, these communities been underserved. You see what I'm saying? And that's another thing we got to realize too. Like, people want to make this a Democrat-Republican thing. And when you're dealing with black people and the mistreatment of black people, it's not political. It's institutional. You say it's in schooling. It's in banking. It's in policing. It's in every category you can think of because that's what America was built on. You see what I mean? Even still today in 2020, most of America believe that slaves just worked on plantations. And we got Google and everything. But in reality, slaves worked on railroads. They built the White House. You see what I'm saying? Not by themselves, but they built the White House. And people don't understand that when we talk about slavery and why people should be paid. Because our ancestors put in work. But in school, they just say they worked on the cotton fields. It's just a way to diminish the black value, the value that blacks have put to this country. The contributions that we made. So when you get to talking about what's going on with the Grammys and you making a joke out of it, talking about, well, what we gonna have black people have a movie of ancient England and have... No, we not. But when you're dealing with ancient Egypt, it should be black people playing them roles. And historically, when you're dealing with movies, it haven't. It haven't. Now you say, I agree with you about the Democrat thing. Because I agree with Democrats. they play a role too. But like I said, it's not really Republican or Democrat. But if people really pay attention to politics, you will see that the typical black person, our morals, and what we represent align more to the Republican Party. It just does. That's just the facts of it. You see what I'm saying? But I would urge more people to be independent, because that two-party system, it takes away our choice to think freely. Because the average person believes, since I'm a Republican, I gotta think this way, or I'm a Democrat, I gotta think that way. But in reality, you can believe with a little bit, you can believe with both. You see what I'm saying? You can believe with both. There's nothing wrong with that. And I just be tired. I just be tired of people like you, Candace. Because you're not helping the cause. You're not. You telling all your viewers and all your fans that we lying. And we not. It's fucked up. It's messed up in our communities, man. And it's not all our fault. Now I can't put everything on the government. But they got to take blame, and they haven't this far. They haven't taken no blame. I agree with you on the welfare system, but you got to understand, when you're dealing with welfare, there's more white people on welfare than it is blacks. You got to remember that too. Don't make welfare a black or white thing. Because I'm gonna tell you this: I grew up on welfare. You see what I'm saying? And it helped our family tremendously. My mother always worked a job. Sometimes 3. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Me or none of my siblings on welfare. So don't make it seem like, because I done heard this before. A lot of people think, well, if a parent is on welfare, that means their kid's going to be on welfare. That's not always the case. A lot of times when you're growing up on welfare, that make you want to go harder, because you don't want to have to go through nothing like that. That you don't want to put your kids through what you went through growing up. And you right, they use Cardi. You right. But I don't know if they used it for the same reasons you saying they used it. You see what I'm saying? They using her just like the Republican Party using you. Ain't no difference. You just able to articulate your points better. That's all it is. And when you're dealing with, like I said, when we going back to the movies, I don't know if I really agree with what's going on as far as what the Grammys doing. You gotta have a black person doing this, and because at the end of the day we gonna get X'd out. Whenever it's laws made for minorities, for some reason blacks get X'd out. That's just look at the minority bank loan. See who they go to. That's why the Chinese and Asians, because they get the loans. We don't get them. And those loans was supposed to be designed for us. We don't get them. You know why we don't get them? Because we criminalized at a very young age. So by the time we even able to qualify for a loan, growing up in these inner cities, in these majority black environments, we already got criminal charges. So you already disqualified yourself. But that was the plan. You got to realize this was a plan. And it's not Democrat, Republican. It's institutional. They do us wrong in almost every aspect of life. So how do you expect people to just come up out of this shit? It's not as simple as people making it seem. Everywhere you turn, it's a roadblock. It's not. And people like you, Candace Owen'S, you making it worse. only way America is going to get where we want to go is if we admit the harsh truth of history. We got to admit it. We got to admit America has done wrong to its citizens. That's the only way that we're going to get where we want to go. That's the only way. Because what you're doing is you're basically telling people that we lying. And all that's going to do is create a divide. But the facts is there. All you got to do is want to look at them. All you got to do is just believe what's in your face. The facts are there.